Good morning, good afternoon, and good day to you all, and welcome to our first webinar of 2026. This is the AVP's Dam Trends Survey, the first, which will become an annual event. Please, again, if you have questions, use the Q&A. If you are attending today's webinar, you will get a copy of both the webinar and the report. We'll send up links on LinkedIn probably tomorrow or Monday, showing if you are not able to be here and you want a copy, how you can get a copy of the presentation. Next slide. What are we going to do today? Well, we are going to welcome you, which we've kind of already done. Kara and I will introduce ourselves to you all, and then we have a few select items to go through. Obviously, why are we doing this research now? Why did we do this? We will then talk about question one, the opportunities that we heard from you all. Number two, we will talk about the challenges that we heard from you all. We will then put it all together, have some reflection. We will then summarize what we believe is there. And then definitely we want to hear from you today. Some questions. My name is John Horodisky. I'm a managing director of strategic client growth here at AVP. I am proud to say I've been doing this damn thing for over 22 years and very happy to be a part of this webinar today. I've done all the good things from DAM to metadata to governance to all these good things. I also have been teaching a DAM course at San Jose State University for 20 years, wrote a book on DAM, wrote a book on metadata, and I'm so excited to be here today to talk about our research results with my esteemed colleague, Kara Van Melsen. Kara.
Yeah, thanks, John. Hi, everyone. Kara Van Malsen, and I am proud to say that as of 2026, I am also in the 20 years DAM club.
Is there a pen? Do we get a pen? I don't know.
Yay, where's my pen? I started working in this space in 2006, and I have been with AVP since 2011, so also on my 15-year anniversary here. So we've been working with all kinds of organizations on all kinds of DAM-related efforts, initiatives, problems, challenges, efforts, etc. During that time. So yeah, kind of seen a lot and it's very exciting to get to work with all the great clients that we have. So I'm sure some of you are here and welcome. Good to have you.
We would like to remind you there are a lot of other great things that we are doing here at AVP. Coming up in February, we're going to have a podcast will be released through Intraline. Well done, Kara, on that podcast. So we're thinking late February-ish for this results. Watch the LinkedIn, watch our email communications to learn more about that. We will then be in lovely Portland, Oregon for the Stride PI Apparel event. We will be in Portland March 9 to 10. If you are in Portland, please come and see us. We would love to have a drink and talk more. 2 weeks later, we will then be in lovely Los Angeles for the Henry Stewart Dam LA event. So please, if you're in Los Angeles, Southern California, please come and say hello. And then our next event scheduled is AMA and Ask Me Anything about dam optimization. This will be a webinar, dates to be revealed soon, but please look at our website for more information and definitely email communications coming out as to when that will be. And without further ado, why are we here? Why did we do this research now? So why did we? Well, I mean, quite honestly and seriously, at AVP, we definitely pride ourselves and are seriously committed on using accurate and authentic data to formulate a perspective and point of view in all our work. DAM is still at the core of marketing and creative operations, but anecdotally, organizations are increasingly being asked to do more with less. Does that ring a bell with anyone? We are also noticing a damn AI gap, a true disconnect between what platforms promise and what organizations are truly ready to leverage and operationalize. Now, our goal with this survey, which is now going to be an annual survey, is to take the true pulse of the DAM community at a time of transformation and gather objective data to validate our observations to our team members, to our clients, to our partners, and the community as a whole. This research is for you, DAM, marketing technology, content operations, IT, and all digital teams to learn how their peers are feeling moving into 2026. What are we going to cover? Well, three things. We are going to look at how the opportunities came into place. Question one, what are the opportunities? Number two, what do they see as the risks? And then number three, the story that's going to emerge when you look at them both together. And with that, Kara, how did we actually do this?
All right. So hopefully some of you were participants and respondents in our DAM Trend survey. So thank you very, very much. And I'll just let you know kind of what we did, what we gathered. We had a survey open for 2 months, late at the very end of the year, late October to mid-December, with two core questions. It was just a two-question survey. They were free text. And so that was really all we were asking folks to contribute. We ended up with 105 complete responses to that survey, which is fantastic. So again, thank you very, very much for your participation. I'd also like to note that amongst the respondents, we had about 6 job categories represented. It's kind of worth noting, like who responded. So for the most part, the respondents were sort of in the DAM practitioner information management practitioner category. And then some people more self-identified more broadly around content and marketing operations. We had other folks who identified more around the platform and product management piece. We did have some executive leadership responding, and then others who were just, more purely IT. There were a few outliers that don't fit into those categories, but that's kind of who responded to our survey. So yeah, very heavy on the practitioner side, which is great. It's kind of what we would expect to see. But I just want to note up front that what we're going to share with you today there's consistency amongst the respondents, regardless of job category. So that's also notable. We saw similar responses from folks in leadership, folks in technology, with folks in DAM. So that's just a note that I'd like to make sure you're aware of. So like I said, we had 2 questions. What were they? First question, looking ahead to 2026, what are the top opportunities or areas of interest that you see for your organization when it comes to managing digital assets? Number 2, what about risks or challenges? What are your top concerns for 2026? And then what did we do with the responses? So a lot of folks gave multi-part answers. Because again, it was free text, so they could just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or bulleted, or however they wanted to break it up. So they didn't have to just give one answer. So where we had multi-part responses, we did break those up and kind of parse them to see, what are the themes and the trends that are coming out. And so there are some other cases where a response sort of like categorically addressed multiple things. So it wasn't something you could break apart. It was more like hitting 2 topics at once. So where we needed to, we might have duplicated a response just in terms of our analysis. And then we created these categories and kind of summarized the themes that we were seeing. We looked at patterns, we looked at trends and kind of through lines across the data. So that's more or less what we did with the responses. So let's get into it. What did people say? We wanted to share that with you. So like I said, first question was about DAM opportunities. And as a reminder, this was the question. Looking ahead to 2026, what are the top opportunities or areas of interest you see for your organization? This is kind of specific to your organization, not like the community or the profession at large, when it comes to managing digital assets. Okay, here is a pretty graphic that shows what we saw when we looked at the responses. Not surprising, AI, big theme here. And we'll get more into what we were hearing about AI specifically. This is just kind of at the category level. But the close second was about integrations. And actually here, I was very surprised. At that one to me was, I think integrations is a big hot topic and issue and challenge for a lot of organizations right now. It's a goal, but it's a difficult one. But yeah, kind of surprised to see that that the community is feeling the same way. John, were you surprised at that one too?
I mean, but happily so. I mean, the usual suspects are there. You and I both know metadata, governance, adoption, all those things show up. But to see integration score so high, I smiled. I was very happy to see that. That's a story you and I both hear from our clients. We hear it at conferences. We see it on the chat or on LinkedIn and other places. Integrations is a real thing to consider. So happily to see that come in so high as it did. Yeah.
Yes. it presents a challenge and it presents an opportunity that I think that I would say to the vendors and service providers out there, there is work to do here to support these goals. This is not easy right now, and it could be better. So just a personal opinion. Anyway, but then also kind of following on closely from that is metadata or automation and workflow and metadata and taxonomy. And then we have centralizing assets, governance, and then it kind of goes from there. But I think what's happening here is very, very interesting. So we'll talk about how these things connect. But just so you know what you're looking at here, in terms of what this data is and these percentages, this is the percentage of responses that had some portion of their response about this topic. So like I said, a given individual response may have listed 5 things. So if one of those things were AI, they were in the AI category. But if one of those things was governance, they also went in the governance category. So it was added to all the relevant categories for the multi-part responses. Few quotes for you, just so you can see like what were we looking at? What was the actual data? Obviously, this is qualitative data here. We've got, just free text, but here's a few just examples of these opportunities. Utilizing AI and agentic AI to do a variety of repetitive tasks. We saw a lot of that kind of tedious tasks, repetitive tasks, like wanting to use AI for that purpose. Efficiency gains using AI. And then we see some multi-part answers, workflow, metadata automation, Gen AI, sort of like these things are not independent either. They come together. Mm-hmm. Better integration with creative tools and downstream systems. Naming convention standardization, restructure, and predictive metadata. This is kind of hinting at like metadata needs, but as well as like AI related needs, perhaps, like where you say predictive metadata, like this is sounding like automation, it's sounding like maybe agentic, something. And then we saw things like we want to do end-to-end content management. We want to turn from a library to a content creation central station. So I think that's another interesting one, kind of talking about that bigger picture. Mm-hmm. So if I had to say what the dominant themes were, they would be these: AI, integrations, workflow and automation, metadata and taxonomy. Those were kind of 50% of respondents said something about these topics. But what's also critical to note is these are not independent priorities. They were not talked about kind of in a siloed and independent way. They were representing like interrelated concerns about a specific maturity path that a lot of organizations are ready to get to, that end-to-end connected ecosystem. And they see metadata and governance as a foundation, integration as the enabler, workflow and automation as the value layer, and then AI as the accelerant. If we can get that full stack going, I think people have a vision that could be very exciting and transformative for their organizations. What do you think, John? Does that kind of align with how you were thinking about what people were saying? Ooh, we might have John frozen. Maybe we have me frozen. Who's frozen?
And I'm unstable.
Well, there you go. You're back. Okay.
Technologically unstable, potentially, but no, I'm stable. Sorry about that. When you look at those 4, not surprised to see some of those things, but again, respondents are definitely showing to us that they're ready to move their DAM from not just a repository, but to a true operating platform. Whether this is going to be for marketing, creative operations, the MLR process for pharma, libraries, archives, museums, the DPC process for retailer furniture, and more, the opportunity is truly now. And I don't know about you, Kara, but what exciting times to be in DAM. I guess the question for you all, are you all ready for these opportunities going forward?
Question for you. Funny you should ask, because I think that is what people started to respond to in the second question. So are they ready? Let's talk about it. DAM challenges. Okay, question 2, as a reminder, pretty straightforward. What about risks or challenges? What are your top concerns for 2026? So another fun, colorful chart. This is what it looks like, the breakdown of how the responses categorized. Again, same thing as I said about the last one. This was done the same way. if someone said AI and funding and alignment and buy-in and staffing, they got put into all those categories. Okay. So if you had multiple responses, you were counted multiple times. So 21.7% of responses included something about AI. It included, and then 16.6% included something about funding resourcing. So that's kind of how you interpret this data. So again, we see some heavy dominant themes kind of overall, a little bit even heavier this time, really on two things. But kind of like our last one, we see close follow-ups on a few other topics. So let's look at some of the actual responses. We heard things like AI is being forced into everything, whether it makes sense or not. There's pressure from leadership to implement AI without clear use cases. We're trying to implement AI on top of unstable and metadata and workflows. And this is a kind of summarization of that same point. Our DAM program doesn't have the maturity or stability yet to utilize emerging technologies. Other topics were things like staffing, budgeting, et cetera. So here's one that said, we're running out of space and I'm being let go due to budget cuts. So I don't know how they'll do with that. Some are very simple: insufficient budget, short staffing. Some people were very, just precise and to the point. And then just generally being expected to do more with fewer resources. These are representative of a lot of the responses that we saw.
And we appreciate your honesty in sharing this type of information with us, because 25, 26, we live in unique times, economic uncertainty. There's a lot of things happening around us, but certainly seeing those few categories of AI and funding alignment, not surprised, but we live in interesting times, don't you think?
Certainly do. Certainly do. So yes. So let's talk about the dominant themes again. Top 4. AI again, but this time it looks different. It's not like AI automation, getting rid of repetitive tasks, cool efficiency stuff. It's AI hype, AI misuse, AI overuse, ethics concerns, unreliable outputs from AI. So very, very different messaging coming through this time on the same theme. So if we just compare them one to one, we're like, this one said AI, this one said AI. They're saying totally different things about what they're thinking in terms of AI. Another theme here was funding. So they're seeing shrinking budgets, limited staffing, and just overall sustainability concerns. Alignment was a really interesting theme on this one. This is the one that maybe pleasantly surprised me the most. But there's a lot of concerns that they're not going to be successful unless they get the buy-in from the various stakeholders, including leadership, and they can align on priorities, because there's a lot of conflicting priorities out there that are making it hard to kind of create a roadmap and stick to it and deliver on it. And then the staffing and resourcing thing comes very, very closely connected to the funding concern. The lack of buy-in, small teams already. Now we're seeing more layoffs. Plus, there's this increasing volume and complexity. So we see, just go back here real quick, that you see AI funding, alignment, buy-in, staffing, resourcing, and then volume and scale. So I think what's happening there is we're being asked to do more with less. Our resources are being cut, and we're seeing volumes and scale increase. So how are we going to do it? So that's kind of that story. Similar kind of takeaways to the first question. We saw that these are not independent risks. These are not just it's AI or funding or. They're all interrelated concerns that reflect mounting demands and pressures. So you've got increasing volume and scale. You've got decreasing staffing and other resources. There's that intense pressure to adopt AI without readiness, clear value, we don't even know what we're trying to do with it. And just overall lack of alignment is a pointer. It points out some of the governance shortcomings, especially at the strategic level, that are really missing to execute on some of those opportunities that we saw from the first question. So those are some of the really interesting things that I saw in the data. John, what about you?
Yeah, I love the words misuse, overuse, and alignment. I think there's a lot of missed and unanswered expectations from both sides of the house. I think a lot of staff are confused, and I think a lot of senior leadership are equally confused. I mean, if anything of a hint for 26, let's get some governance going. Let's actually maybe have an AI policy. Maybe we should talk about these things. These are good things we can take away. This is a risk category, but from any good risk, there's an opportunity. So hopefully there's some learnings behind that. Nonetheless, the key takeaway that we're seeing here are truly that respondents are worried. I mean, no doubt and no questions about that. They're worried that they're moving forward too quickly with the right resources. And there's that word again, governance, that could possibly result in failure. Let's be clear. It's a big risk to consider, and all the pressures for us are certainly real. What we could say, start slow, build a damn foundation. Let's talk more about foundations and fundamentals. Make a plan, secure it with governance. There's no magic here, everyone, but there is a true, real chance to make a difference. But we hear you loud and clear.
Yes. So let's put all of this together. And what do we see in here, John?
Oh my goodness. Whether this is a one side versus the other, whether this is the Janus face looking to the past and looking to the future, we definitely see it right there in front of us, truly. And we heard this, Karen and I, you've heard this at conferences. And again, we've heard this with discussions online. DAM is truly being expected to do more. If we could have a virtual response of like, hands up, I would love to see what people are saying. But yeah, DAM is expected to do more. It's expected to drive those efficiencies. It's always been there, but certainly more now. And reduction of complexity. The world is getting busier, faster, stronger. Formats are getting weirder. The sizes are getting bigger. So we're told to do more, get those efficiency up there, and please reduce the complexity around us. At the same time, though, we are trying to do this in a world in which we are being underfunded. Again, economic uncertainty is certainly here for us in 2026. So underfunding has certainly happened. Undergoverned. Oh my golly, if a word for 26 could be there, please use governance. And then under-resourced. This is a serious one. We're hearing you. We see it in the, economic job forecast. We are hearing that the under-resourced thing is truly there. We live in interesting times. So again, if you look at this as a Janus face, and if there's one slide, there's many slides in this presentation to consider, but this is an interesting one. Share it with your team, show your boss, show your boss's bosses of what damn the pressures are and going into 26. We have much to consider going forward.
And before I move forward, I just want to jump in really quickly and say, I saw a few hands raised. We can't call on you. You're not going to be able to speak. So if you do have a question, please put it in the Q&A panel, and we'll get to that at the end here. So just wanted to make sure people are aware we can't actually bring you in to talk. You'll just have to put your question in the Q&A.
We wish, but we will definitely get to your questions.
Yes, thank you. So yes, on this one, this is making me think we need to bring back some business case, how to help people kind of make the case for why we need more funding and more resources to do the more in the complex. But what else do we have here? Am I talking about this one or you?
This is yours, yes.
No, I'm not sure who's who. Yes, so just putting that whole story together, from what we saw through those two questions and the kinds of responses we received, the overall takeaway to me is organizations want DAM to become an intelligent, automated operating layer for content, but they're worried they don't have the foundations in place, the funding, the resources, or the control to get there successfully. So they're worried that they're being set up for failure. They're worried that these ambitions are not going to be able to be realized and achieved. So, I think overall the responses sort of expose a capability gap. We have this ambition for DAM to function as a system of action, not storage. We're moving from library to content orchestration. But the reality is we're not ready. We've still got inconsistent metadata, integration is not all there, under-resourced teams, unclear governance. When we have integrated systems, that means data that goes across multiple platforms where, how are we doing data governance? When we have data that goes across systems, we have to cooperate with people who are responsible for multiple tools, or maybe different people in charge of different tools. How are we going to work together to accomplish shared priorities? How do we even establish shared priorities? Who makes what decision when? So that kind of governance is critical, and it's very, very challenging. Um, and then there's this risk that the AI, if we throw that in, um, and just turn it on, that and automate things, we're going to amplify weaknesses rather than resolve them, and make a big mess, probably, that we're not equipped to deal with either. So it's interesting that these findings really align with an article that our CEO, Chris Lasinik, published last week. Now, he wrote this before we had the responses analyzed. And he wrote it kind of in late December while we were just getting the data back. And then when we got through everything and got through the analysis, we said, "Hey, Chris, we think we're seeing in the responses to the survey what you're saying in your Damn AI Gap article." So we encourage you to check it out, because I think it's really the same message. And that's one of those things we said at the beginning. We want to validate what we think we're seeing. And the survey really did, validate that we are seeing what we think we're seeing, that that there's this gap where we have to get these foundations in place before we're going to be able to leverage AI in the way that people want to. So very interesting, very cool. All right, let's bring it home, bring it all together, and then we're going to get to your questions. And I think, John.
This one's you, and I have the next one.
Okay. We have a little technical difficulty in which I can't see what I'm supposed to be presenting, but we're doing it. Sorry, guys. All right. To sum it all up, I think we kind of said this, but just to make sure we're clear. So organizations seem to have a very clear vision of their DAM as a content orchestration layer, integrated with a wider ecosystem and using AI as a key enabler for automation. But they feel like this AI is being pushed faster than they are ready to adopt it. And there's a fear that everything could go sideways if AI is unleashed without the proper foundations in place, and more work is still needed on metadata governance and permissions, et cetera, in order for this to succeed. Staff reductions, funding cuts across the board, coupled with higher volumes, may leave them without many options. So this is like a real tension here. Like, where will this go? If you're kind of being forced to adopt, but you're not ready, are you going to have to do it? What's that going to look like? What kind of problems is that going to create? So, something to think about. Yeah. Overall, what do you think, John?
Overall, oh my goodness, so many good things to say. Well, DAM success in 2026 is about design and discipline. Again, we're looking back at those fundamentals and foundations, not just technology. Again, Kara, you and I, few conferences at the tail end of Q3 and Q4. We were hearing this. We definitely see it in the discourse in the community out there. So we are seeing that it's not just necessarily technology, but this is the time to really start talking about those foundations and those fundamentals, as again, from the research has shown, the metadata, the workflow, the automation, the governance. These are not nice to haves. They're kind of essential for your success going forward. But like any good research, and we love our research, questions beget new questions, to which we at AVP would love to leave you with this. So listen carefully, y'all. Are we at a moment where the desire to adopt AI will force organizations to fix the basics? Now, the good heart in me would love to see a better world going forward. We can begin to sort of see those risks and turn them into opportunities. But let's see. And number two, will the leadership see this and contribute the appropriate resources? We look forward to learning from you all to these answers in 2026. The discourse is now open. We love doing this. Very proud of what we've been able to accomplish, but the discourse begins. We want to hear from you, not just today. When on LinkedIn or whatever platforms you so choose, reach out to Kara, reach out to myself, find your favorite AVP person, and let's start talking about this, because this is not going to go away. These are themes for the year, but we definitely look forward to hearing from you all as we go forward in 2026. And
I
there you,
think that last question is really interesting because
right?
we in the DAM community have been beating these drums for many years. You all have been doing this. Like, we need governance, we need good metadata, we need this. And it's kind of landed on deaf ears. They're like, oh, those damn people and their weird problems. But now these people are like, do AI. And you're like, well, we need AI needs data, right? Yes, AI needs data. Okay, well, we need to work on our data.
Mhm.
Okay, well, what do you need to do that? Like, is that going to happen where we can have the conversation like, hey, really high C-suite leadership, you want to do cool things with AI and we're being asked to do that. Here's what we're going to need to make it happen. Is that
Right.
going to be the catalyst that allows some of the things that have been a struggle to put in place for years to finally happen? I don't
Yeah.
know. It would be cool.
But
Maybe.
now is the time to talk about it. Now, Kara, we do have some questions. I'm going to jump to one first because it's sort of a tangent to what you and I were just saying. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go to what Kat, hope I pronounced your name correctly, has asked us. Kat says, I believe that the AI hype, which states that AI is everywhere. Number two, ready to deliver on all your objectives. And three, easy to implement, has been delivered to our executives, and their misunderstanding is what driving the defunding. Would you agree? Kat, great question. Wow. Oof. Kara, do you want to take a first stab or shall I?
Either one. I'm happy to start.
Yeah.
Um, yes. Do we think that's what's driving the defunding? In part, I think that, that may be something that could be attributed to some of the defunding. Um, I think there are other economic factors at play, and overall kind of economic ebb and flow and trends that we're in a moment right now, which is kind of
Yeah.
a bit of a retraction, it, regardless of AI. But I think the hype is fuel to that fire, with executives seeing or believing the hype and that we can, you know, replace a good chunk of the workforce with this technology. So I don't think it's an all encompassing answer, but yeah, I mean, to some extent, I agree. What do you think,
Mhm.
John?
Well, I'm old enough to have seen many hypes in my years. I'm always cautious when I see hype. Uh, Show me the proof. I want to see where these things. So, Kat, you're absolutely correct. This is a hype. We're living through a hype right now, and the hype continues. The word of sort of 23, 24, we saw a lot in 25 was agentic AI and agents. Well, we did a quick poll of 12 dams, and only two of them are doing agentic AI. A few of them would like to. So, what does that show us? But then again, if you are doing agentic AI, we want to hear from you. I want to see a case study. I want to see how it's working out. So, if you were on this call and actually beginning to use some of these things, kind of want to share. So, please let us know. Send us a line. Karen and I kind of want to know what you're doing with it. But definitely, the misunderstanding is there for all of us. I think with hypes, we see a lot of stuff. A lot of things are overpromised and potentially underdelivered. Again, I'm going to go right back to one of my favorite words, which is governance. I think we need to get together. We need to talk about it. I think we need to make AI policies in our organization. If we're going to use it, how? If we're not going to use it, here's why. I've definitely heard of a few organizations who are blocking things like ChatGPT. Some things are being blocked. Tell me why. But I do think there's a misunderstanding, and the best way to solve that, one of the good ways to solve that, is to get together to talk about it. Let's have governance. Let's actually make some decisions on what works best for our organization, which will be different to all of you. But I'm a big fan of having governance participate in this discussion. So, Kat, you're on the mark. Great question. Well done. Thank you.
And if I may jump to another question that's kind of follows on that same theme. So before we leave this theme, JD asks or notes, I have seen and experienced a leadership thought pattern that AI can replace people with regard to DAM processes and metadata, and consequently let DAM administrators go. On the other hand, as a DAM administrator, it's obvious that AI is not ready for prime time with regard to automating processes and metadata. How do we convince leadership that AI is cool, but in 2026, we're in the 8-bit phase of AI and not in the 8K phase? I love that
I love
quote.
that.
That's awesome.
JD, that's a quote we're keeping. That's a good one. Well done. That's good.
Yeah. I love it.
8-bit to 8K. Well, I mean, JD, you're not wrong. I mean, Again, this is the overhype, the misuse that Kara had mentioned a little bit earlier on a few slides. I mean, we're not ready for prime time. Again, the hype has been pushed out, the expectations have been set, but we're not there. So how do we convince the leadership? Again, I'll go right back to governance. Let's have a dialogue. What do you try to get out of it? What are we trying to get out of it? We've seen a few clients this last year take a pause. They know AI is there. It's not going away. Let's just call that out. It's not going to go away. Okay, good. So it's here. Let's take some time. Let's get the house ready. Let's get some foundations in order. Maybe let's take some time to explore what the AI can do within the technology, and then make a plan and then say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start small. We're maybe going to use a few metadata fields, but that taking the pause and slowing down, which is always a good thing to do with technology, make that plan and then go forward in that slow approach. That's one way. That's one way to get ready for prime time and see if we can get the 8 bits to the 8K in some ways. Kara?
Yeah, I think you point out a really important thing here that we didn't necessarily see so much in the survey, but I believe very much is true, is that not only is our data and DAM and et cetera not ready, the technology is not ready. So I think that's another key point. It does come down to not ready for what? What are we trying to do here? I mean, I think in our world, what we try to do in DAM is ensure accuracy, consistency, repeatability. We need, those things to enable search, discovery, consistent rights information, et cetera. And generative AI as a category of technology is not good at that. It's not good at creating consistent, reproducible results. It's good at creative ideation types of things. So, we've had machine learning technologies for many years, and that is
Mhm.
technically AI, but it's not where the hype is right now. And, we've been tuning those for a long time. And yeah, you can generate transcripts, speech to text. It's great. OCR, really cool. Handwriting OCR is there now. It's awesome.
Mhm.
But those are machine learning technologies, not generative AI technologies. So they're different flavor of tool. The generative AI kind of push coupled with the agentic AI push is where I think we see a lot of risk, because those tools are not there to do the thing we need them to do, which is to help, with some of that more things where you need that consistency. We're not creating one-offs. We need every single time we get this type of image, it needs to be tagged exactly the same way every single time, stuff like that. So yeah, anyway, that's just a little rant about that.
Love the word repeatable. Again, in all the work that we do, we want things to work well. Authenticity, authentic, accurate. Let's get that repeated. Here's a great question from Jamie. Do you know of any articles, case studies, and examples of organizations who are doing this foundational work well? Love this question. Prioritizing governance and metadata in order to enable quality AI usage. Or maybe that's just a good conference topic. Jamie, tip of the hat to you. Well done. Yeah, in anticipation of this, and when we were doing the evaluation of the research, we actually did find some interesting articles, both from the Journal of Digital Media Management. If you're not subscribing, you should. And as well as some interesting articles from Damn News, who talked about things like AI, agentic AI, composable AI. As we tidy up and finish our report, we will be putting a section at the end that will be links to some articles you can go and look at over the last few years, which have been very topical. But to your point, Jamie, yes, I think conferences should have not just more panels on AI per se, but sharing what we've done, the whole case study. Remember case studies? We love a case study. What worked? What didn't? What did you learn? How can we share that? That is something that we take very seriously here at AVP, and we are definitely going to be, poking, pushing, nudging, loving all the right peoples and all the right conferences to sort of have a few more of those type examples so we can share. So great question, Jamie.
Yeah, I think John, you were saying something recently about we were talking about kind of we're in the agentic AI hype bubble right now, and that yes, a few DAM vendors have it created or implemented some agentic tooling. Very interesting, super cool. But we kind of want to see the case studies of how organizations are using them in the real world. Like that's where we're not seeing a ton yet, kind of from a evidence perspective that like, yeah, this thing works, and here's how we're using it, and here's how this other group is using it, from the user community.
Yeah.
So I think it's still early days. These have been released pretty recently. So um, that is a conference topic and or article topic I think we are missing right now, or could use more of, to learn more about how what the art of the possible looks like there and what the
Mhm.
limitations are. So yeah.
Uh, Quick comment here from Fabiana. Love this. My team is taking a pause and writing up Gen I policy and guidance in association with their head of AI. Well done, Fabiana. Everyone on the call, take note. We are leaning in the risk aspects in order to justify the pause. I love that. Well done. More of you. This is a good time to pause, reflect, make policies, guidelines. Remember those things? Policy and guidelines? Those are awesome. Those are really good to do. So, very good comment. Now, here's a question for us, Kara. This is a good one from Tim. As dam systems grow in terms of how much stuff happens in the dam itself, agentic AI, content creation, template building, reporting, etc., how can we plan ahead for what is an integration versus what will happen in the dam natively? It seems to keep shifting. You're not wrong, Tim. That is happening. Oof, good question. Oh, Carrot,
Yeah. Well, good question. I'm like, haven't spent so much time thinking about this. But
thinking. Hmm.
what so I hope it's not too tangential, but what I'm noticing in the platform product space is more and more tools that have DAM as a component, as a module, but that do other things, more in that creative automation aspect. So, like you said, template building, AI content creation, whatever. Like they are tools built for, um, yeah, content orchestration, workflow, etc. And that DAM is such a key part of that. So they're building them in to the tool. Now I know some of these have been around a long time, but we're seeing, like last fall at DAM New York, we were seeing more and more of those in the vendor room. And we sit in the vendor rooms and we go around and talk to everybody. And we're like, oh, it's your
Yeah.
first time here. You content orchestration platform. Oh, another one, like you guys first time here. So they're showing up at the DAM conferences, which now is making me kind of take a twist to your question and wonder, well, which of these things are going to become are they going to be, in what cases will they actually replace the DAM and the integrations? Will we see these all-in-one tools taking over? And my prediction is not necessarily, maybe in certain cases it works pretty well, but in others, they will continue to have these integrations and standalone DAMs. Um, and I think the answer is, guess what? It's my favorite answer because I'm a consultant. It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. So anyway, that just another flavor to your question is that one. But yeah, didn't answer anything. John, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I love the question, Tim, and it goes back to what Karen and I had said earlier in one of the slides, where we really see that transition from DAM as a standalone repository to a true operating platform. Now, to mirror what Kara had said, we had seen this in the last 2 to 3 years probably, where it's the rise of what I like to call the DAM adjacents, and we're seeing them more often, and they're pretty cool. The technology is really cool. So as we go forward, I think each and every one of you who have your own unique cases and your own unique situations with industries and people and all the things that are in the mix, you have to take a look at that operating platform and say, what is it that I need to go forward? What does good look like for me? And sometimes a dam might be able to do the majority of it, but there could be some really interesting adjacents around it that you might need in order to move forward. DAM has certainly changed from that standalone big old thing you would put in the IT stack and did sort of like one or two different things. Now DAM is doing a lot more. We're seeing it really a true evolution in what the technology has been able to do for the last 10 years. So I think for those of you on the call who are at an interesting point in your DAM journey where you might be looking at a new one for the future, this is a good time to step back and say, what are the things I need to get done? Forget the word damn for a second. Just look back and say, what am I trying to do? And then start looking at yourselves, answering those questions, and then go start looking at the technology. The dam might be able to do some of it. Those are dam adjacents. Interesting. And again, if you're more interested in that, we can certainly give you a little list of some of the ones we've been seeing over the last few years, and we can share that with you. But Great question, Tim. You are definitely looking forward. Love that. Thank you, Tim. Well done.
Before we leave the integration topic, I want to ask another question that's in here from David. Um, and he asks, as interest in integration grows, are there trends among client organizations asking to integrate tools that cannot be integrated into a dam, at least not yet? For example, databases for grants. That's an interesting one. So when we think they cannot be integrated into a dam, at least not yet, that example that you gave makes me think maybe because the data is so incredibly different or structured differently, that it would be difficult to integrate them. I could actually see AI being really helpful there, but come back to that. So, but the only limitations on what can or can't be integrated is the availability of, APIs and certain technological features of the two tools, right? The ones to be integrated and or middleware layers. So as long as you have the capability, anything can be integrated with the dam. Does it need to be? And would that work? And what would be the purpose? A lot of times, integration, I think sometimes there's over integration. Like it's harder to do that integration than it would just be to have people like do the thing. So
Mhm.
that's another question to ask is the value there for to invest in this integration? Because it's also think about how integration is not a one-off. It's not something you do and then you're done. It's like a living thing that has to be fed and cared for. And, it's like free kittens. It's not free. Like that kitten needs to eat, food and you have to take care of it for the long term. And that's a challenge around integrations that
Mhm.
should be considered before embarking on any integration. But yeah, I mean, technically, there really aren't that many limits to being able to do those integrations today. Most platforms are built API first or native, so that's your tools are there.
I would say, David, and first of all, David, thank you for the question. It's a great question. I think this is something, again, when we did this research, we didn't know what we were going to receive. But when we saw it, and we saw in that risk category that integrations were so high, that became a concern. I think the question that you have posed here is an excellent follow-up question that we potentially may want to ask people at some point in this year to see what the pulse is like for that. Yeah, great question, David. Very well done. Interesting. I think we might have a time, Kara, for one or two more. There's a sort of a
Yeah.
nice shout out here. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Mete or Mete. Thank you. I appreciate the care you're taking to validate assumptions. Well, you're most welcome. We love to do this at AVP. I'm curious about what you see as remaining opportunities or challenges that this validation process might not yet have surfaced. What do you, as experts, think we also need to pay attention to? Great, kind of a closing question, actually, because it's like, this was great. Well done. What else? I will do a quick shout out to the what else, something that I have seen grow. And certainly I can give a shout out to On Dam Paris in 25 in November. And this came up several times. Certainly, if you are reading things like Dam News and the Journal of Digital Media Management, that's coming up. And that is content authenticity. Hear it more and more often. Why do I talk about this? Well, because in late 2026, there will be some actual legislation happening in the United States that are all talking about not only just artificial intelligence, but actually about the AI transparency. And this
Oh, did John freeze or did I freeze? I can't tell. We have freezing. Hold, please.
interesting, good content that is yours and branded and all those things. But I do think you need to be mindful of the instability of my technology, and you need to be mindful of legislations coming into play on content authenticity and AI. How much did that actually work, Kara?
I think we got most of it. When you drop out every time, I'm like, is it me or is it John?
Well, I love a dramatic pause, Carrie. You know, I love
I'm
a
like,
dramatic.
hold, we're gonna hold and see if it comes back. So that's funny.
Anyway, good
I
question,
think
Mete. Yeah, Kara, what do you think?
I think you got the point across there, which is a really, 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 really important one. Um, and totally dovetails with the whole AI conversation. So I hope and I look forward to seeing more on this come into the mainstream. So that's definitely one that we didn't see surface. In fact, I will tell you, one person said something about content authenticity. So their answer went into the other category because it didn't fit with any. So check it out. Look into this. There's a lot of interesting things here and ways to protect your brand and your organization's assets that are forthcoming, and to protect us all from the deep fakes, the sludge of
Slop.
AI slop coming, and all of that. So yeah, what else? So the other thing that might not have surfaced in the survey, I think for me, is about those who are new to DAM. We talked about this overall trend about that's pointed to a certain maturity level of a lot of respondents. But that's not where everyone is. So some folks are still getting their first DAM platform, just figuring out these things. And they're doing that at such a tricky time while the AI things are happening. So there were a small contingent of respondents, and they were kind of on the smaller slices of both charts and both answers that said, the opportunity is to get our first DAM or to get, this new DAM. And the challenge was to implement it right, in the first place and get this program off the ground. So, that's just something that it wasn't a huge amount of responses, but at AVP, we do get a lot of inquiries from first-time DAM folks. Their organization, it has not yet implemented anything like this, and they're kind of starting on that 1.0 stage of the journey. So we don't want to forget that segment of the community either. They may not have participated as much because they don't necessarily see themselves as part of this community yet, because they're just starting out. So yeah, that would be one other thing is let's not forget the first timers coming in.
And they still continue to come. Kara, you're part of the 20-year club. Like,
Yep.
we still see people still coming into DAM for their first time. They may have had some interesting other stuff going on there, but they're truly coming in. And like you say, what an interesting time to come into DAM with all that's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, it's a risk, it's everything.
Yeah. We had one last one we didn't get to, and I think I partially addressed this. So Ryan's question, did the survey define AI? No, we didn't. Open to interpretation. AI seems to have become a blanket for a term that applies to everything from machine learning to OCR, which, yeah, as I mentioned before, we've got this AI everything like definition going on when we're really talking about machine learning, Gen AI, and all these, these are different tools and technologies. Technologies we've had and used for many years. Yep. And that I noted that as well, to more automated integrations to LLMs, image matching, etc. So more generally, I'd be curious to hear your interpretation of how much AI as an opportunity overlaps with the other options in this survey. And I think you're looking at the time that the question came, I feel like maybe we did start to answer that a little later in the presentation. So I think it's entirely interwoven through the entire set of responses. Anytime somebody would respond AI, it was almost always AI and another thing,
Right.
so it wasn't just like they'd only answer AI, they'd say AI and this and this and this. And so, we kind of unraveled all that and then wound it back together in how we interpreted the results. So yeah, it's very much like kind of the opportunity that can drive everything people see as where they would like to go potentially, but also, sabotage it so, and ruin everything. So I think that's kind of the overarching theme there.
No sabotage in 26. We have enough. There's enough going around.
Jeez. We have
Unless
plenty.
unless it's the Beastie Boys sabotage, to which I fully then say, let's go.
Yep. All
I
right. Can
think we
we
are
play
almost out
that
of
song?
We are almost out of time, Ash. A few closing thoughts here. Brittany was able to drop in that URL for the Damn AI Gap that was written by our CEO, Chris Lasinik. So please take a look at that. If you've attended today, you're going to get a copy of the webinar, and you will also receive a copy of the report once it is fully finalized. And tell your friends, tell your family to go to the website to find more about us in the future. I will say on behalf of myself and AVP, what a joy this was to do this. We learned a lot and we're not going to stop. We're going to keep asking questions and we're going to keep learning from you all. And the discussion is now open. There are a lot of things we've posed to you all in the community, and Kara and I will see you at many different places around North America and Europe in 2026. And we want the conversation to continue because there's a lot of interesting things to say. Kara?
It's going to be fun to see where we end up on this journey this year. And yeah, let's see what happens, but let's work together to move these things forward and help get the support that people need from their leadership to achieve their goals. So yeah, let's see how we can help each other. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you. Have a great day, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Have a great one. Cheers.